everybody? Keith, aka Get a Guy 231, here to break down 3-game EPL classic slate after we've had multiple showdowns. It'll be fun to get back to the classic grind, and even more fun that we actually get lineups all at the same time for this slate. I have a love-hate relationship with the late swapping. Like, you know, it was fun. I think it was Sunday was FA Cup. And by the time the City game kicked off at the end, somehow that mean $11 GPP, there's only like 400 something people, but De Bruyne was less than 50% owned, which that's a treat because everybody gets all nervous about who's going to play. So they go, oh, I got to take this guy from the 8 a.m. game, and I have to have action at 11. And by the time you come around and it's City, there's no spots left. So that did help all along the way, but as fun as it is to have that ability to swap late for sharper players to take advantage, it is just nice to see everything ahead of time, to not have uncertainty in your lineup. And that's what we get today. So let's just jump in. Really, really big slate on DK. And I think there's a couple routes you can go. So I'm going to cover as much of that as I can. We're not going to really do ownerships today on classics. A little bit just too much for me to really, give an honest projection on. I will mention some guys that I think will go lower own. Do some scenarios, and then, just kind of break down some of the top plays. So let's get right into it. We're going to start with odds as we always do. So we have Arsenal is the biggest favorite on the slate. That has never backfired in the history of Arsenal or Soccer DFS. Arsenal is such a great favorite for us. If anybody played long enough, you know that Arsenal just has a long history of letdowns, but Norwich is pretty bad. Especially defensively. So, Arsenal does earn the minus 238 here as a favorite, but just tread with caution would be what I would say. Bournemouth is a slight favorite, plus 137, home to Newcastle. And then we have Everton, pretty much a pick on plus 149, hosting Leicester, plus 186. Not going to go over the showdown, but those odds are here, and if you scroll down on the cheat sheet, the projected lineups are there too. All right, so let's kind of just go into lineups and like the situations that to look at with sets, and then kind of I'll pull up DK. We'll take a look at pricing and some of the decisions I think you need to make. So for Arsenal, if this is the lineup, Ceballos and Pepe should split sets. I think Nicolas Pepe, and I'll probably retouch on this, but I do think he might be one of the biggest decision points of the slate. He will be very, very popular in cash because of the set responsibility, his forward eligibility, and the fact that he plays for Arsenal, who's the biggest favorite. I'm going to yet again be team Aubameyang over Pepe. I just think when Pepe does not have like a complete set monopoly, there is some risk with him. We've seen him just fade out into games. Like even this weekend, he was dynamic in the first half for Sheffield, and then the second half just was a no-show. So if he doesn't get that PK goal, I don't remember. I don't think he finished in double digits. And then we had the game, I want to say it's versus Brighton, where he scored the really awesome goal, but that was it. Nothing else the rest of the game. I think he would have been like 560K. Took a little bit of hit, and the pressers too. That outside the goal, he was just largely nothing and didn't have much of an impact. So just keep that in mind. If you really want to be different, going off of Pepe for a Nketiah. And so here's the thing. I think I actually did that right, which is awesome because if you actually look this up, because I did look up pronunciation, Mikel Arteta even butchered it in a press conference, and he's the damn manager. But I have decided that I have a great name. All right, Eddie. So I'm just gonna call him Eddie. Okay, Eddie. We should be back in for Lacazette at the striker position. He has no sort of floor at all, but a talented young striker. And Eddie, I think he's like 78 or 7,900. Probably more of a GPP target, but if you just go. Look, like I'm just not going to care too much about these Arsenal corners, and I'm just going to shoot for the goals. You can just go Aubameyang and Eddie and go from there. So Abba, I think, is the easy play on the Arsenal side. high shot for, draws fouls on PKs. Even when he's out wide, he did a couple crosses in, but he's the guy, if I get a goal notification, I'm expecting it to be. Uh, and I think there's going to be enough value on this slate that it's easy to get there. Danny Ceballos, to just bring up, has half the corners, and really finally starting to look like the Danny Ceballos of back to Betis. So I really like that play. Saka, he might catch some steam, but he's expensive. He's like 7,000. The only reason he would catch some steam is because he's forward eligible. But if he's playing in like a midfield 3, he's still able to get wide. I just think it's a little expensive. Tierney, Bellerin are fine for defenders. Tierney is the better DFS play of the two. We'll see. I mean, he's not Lucas Dean, but he's fine. I think that's Arsenal's side. On the Norwich side, biggest thing is, so if we see both Buendia and Duda in, to me in this matchup, they nullify each other. So they would split sets. But if you see one without the other, it's worth considering. Duda's only 6,100. He's a nice player on loan from the Bundesliga. I think even in the matchup, like, here's the thing with Arsenal. Like, you don't look at Arsenal and go, oh, man, they're going to dominate 80% of possession. There's still going to be opportunities out there for Norwich. So, just to discount the sets completely, I think would be a mistake. Buendia without Duda would be really interesting. Now, I don't know if that will happen considering Duda did not play in the FA Cup. Buendia did. I want to say he subbed off before the end of the 90. But, I don't know if they're going to run him back out there. Farcar still seems to like to rotate them a little bit. So if you see Buendia in with Duda, I think you just take both of them out. If you see Buendia on his own, he's expensive, but even versus United, where they did not have the ball at all, he ended up getting an assist. But even without the assist, I think he had like 6 or 7 tackles, 5 or 6 crosses, a couple shots. So he was in double digits anyways. He's just a great DFS player. So I think just Xing him out would be a mistake. Pukki or Hernandez for GPP, sure. Everybody else, you're just their last man in, or just ignore them. Okay. On the Bournemouth side, so Bournemouth is in like the biggest relegation fight than they ever thought. Like, God, can you think of a team that's like spent their money worse in the last like 2-3 seasons? They're not a big club. They have spent some money, and it's just been for shit over and over again. Like this summer, their big signing was Granville. He's still not is fit. He's still not projected to play. I think they spent like 20 million on him. They spent 25 million on Dominic Solanke 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. He has not scored this season. Harry Wilson's on loan, is a great talent, but is in and out of the side. You got Ryan Fraser's not playing. Diego Rico they spent money on, hasn't played since February. So it's just like everywhere they put their Jefferson Lerma, they spent a lot of money on, and he hasn't had much of an impact. He's finding Phil Billing. The list goes on and on. Like, just what a waste of money. And now they're potentially going to get relegated. It's a shame, but I guess Eddie Howe ain't going to Manchester United anytime soon. But let's just kind of talk about situations. If you see this, Junior Stanislas would show up to me as the premier value of the slate. He would take a majority over Harry Wilson. I think he's like 4,200 playing wide. Never going to play 90 minutes, but when he's in, he crosses a ton in open and takes most of the sets. So I do like that a lot. If you were not to see Junior Stanislas, and let's say this is David Brooks, we have seen David Brooks go on the majority of set pieces versus Palace. There's no reason to think that wouldn't happen here. Harry Wilson maybe takes a few, especially direct free kicks, because he's insanely good at that. But I think he's priced up, so I would probably not go there. So Dominic Solanke, for those that like to punt forward, is going to be somebody that you like have a pause over. He's only like 4K. He has not scored this season. He averages less a shot a game, but there's no Callum Wilson. There's likely not going to be any Josh King. So Dominic Solanke is it. He should get 90 minutes. 4K for a striker. I've seen worse. So I think it's in play. I'd still say it's probably more GPP oriented, but he isn't going to be high owned. So if he does finally get off the goal schneid, that could be a huge bonus for you at 12DK, or I'm sorry, at 40K. The fullbacks, I really do think that I'm going to take this back. I'm going to say it, and I'm not going to actually mean it. But So they spent a ton of money, another bad signing, on Lloyd Kelly last year, who was a left back for Bristol City. Also like an England under 21 international, good player. Like they barely ever play him. He did sub in last game. I wonder if, if they're really happy with Adam Smith out here on the left, if he's really posing any threat, or maybe they'll actually bring in a natural left back. So just keep an eye there. He'd be 2,500, so maybe that happens. If not, Adam Smith himself is 36 or 3,700. He's fine. Just not going to be a crosser on the left. He's very right-footed. So just if he actually gets to the byline, if he doesn't really trust his left, he can't cross the ball in. Also, I guess it's worth mentioning Diego Rico, but I think that he's officially done with the club as well. Like, there's been no notes, but he hasn't made an appearance since February now. But, he's potentially their most creative defender and one of their more creative wide players. So maybe Eddie Howe finally goes, like, we need to win. We need to create some chances. Maybe he gives him a go. If he were to, great play in the mid-fours would easily be on some sets, probably split with Stanislaus. Jack Stacey, fine fullback, but just always overpriced. Okay, on the Newcastle side. So I just will say this. Watch Matt Ritchie. He's not projected in. I've heard he's battling an injury. If he was not in, he'd be a guy I'd be really interested versus Bournemouth side. That's just awful. If he's not in, John Joe Shelby would take a monopoly of sets. He's under 6K. So I think that he is very in play, especially if you just think Bournemouth sucks. Nobody in Newcastle is going to come in highly owned as well. I'm sorry, not as well, highly owned at all. So if you want to take a look at any Newcastle pieces, I think they're almost all GPP, mostly, with the exception of Almiron, but they won't be highly owned. Speaking of Miguel Almiron, there's always a contingent that play Miguel Almiron in cash, 6,400. He's forward eligible. A lot of times tucks into more of like a central role, but he always gets like 6 to 8 DK, and if he scores a goal or assist, Yahtzee. So I think he's fine. The rest, John Joe's fine for cash. Rest would be GPP, Joe Ellington, Gale, St. Maximin. I don't think we'll see Andy Carroll. If anybody watched that game, my God, what did Laporte do to Andy Carroll? He gave him a good 3 elbows to the face. He spikes up on a tackle. I think he finally got a yellow after the tackle, but my God, he was ready to kill Laporte. I was cool with that. I had Laporte in a lot of lineups, so I was taking all the fouls drawn, but God, I don't like Andy Carroll. So I don't think we'll see him, maybe like a sub appearance, but would be interesting if they do a 4-4-2 with Dwight Gale, who just missed the easiest sitter of all time versus City. So, after missing the sitter, while watch narrative alert that he comes back here with the goal. Danny Rose is fine for fullback. Doesn't really cross too much with Newcastle. Manquillo, same deal. And that's pretty much Newcastle. For GPP, always like St. Maximin. Just a really nice player that takes people on. So take a look there. All right, last game, Everton versus Leicester. So if this is the lineup for Everton, Dean and Sigurdsson would split. Sigurdsson is like a corpse these days. Just means that now he's guaranteed a goal. But, he might get some ownership in cash because it's Gylfi. I think Blender used to say, "In Gylfi we trust." I don't think even Blender trusts Gylfi anymore. But that said, potential set share, I don't know. I'm not doing it. I can't sell you guys on it because I don't believe in it, but some people may. Richarlison's price went through the roof. He's 9K. I just don't see a way that you're doing it versus Arsenal, except for leverage and GPP, but for cash, not so much. Iwobi, 5K. He just showed up with a hell of a game versus Norwich, 10 floor points. So 5K, if you want to punt that second forward slot, that's very in play for me. Calvert-Lewin, never going to get owned, but it's been awesome since Ancelotti showed up. So if you want to get a lower owned goal, I really like DCL because Richarlison's always going to be higher owned than Calvert-Lewin just because of the name. But, in my opinion, Calvert-Lewin's the better goal threat. So Lucas Dean, to me, will be one of the most highly owned players in cash. He's 7,300, but he's a defender. And, he falls in that DK, algorithm, mess up. With his logs, he should be 8K. Hell, you could make an argument that he should be approaching 9K with his set responsibilities, but he's always just priced, sixes, 7,300 is about as high as we'll see him. So, if you just want to kind of just like lock in 10 to 12 DK and then walk away, Lucas Dean fits that bill. Then Seamus Coleman is fine for another fullback. Leicester side, big news is I think Maddison does not look like he's going to be fit. Everything I've read says that he's likely going to miss out. He wasn't even in the squad Sunday for Chelsea versus Leicester. So if he's not in, Jorg Tielemans jumps on all the sets, or I'd say a majority. Chilwell might take a free kick or two, but Tielemans is only 4,100, would just kind of, in my opinion, be a plug and play. Like, just give it to me. I was talking to somebody and he said to me, well, what if Mark Albrighton's in? It's like Tielemans still might take. And even if he did not, and Mark Albrighton for some reason jumped on all of them, which I don't think that would be the case, but let's just say that happened. He's still only 4,100 for a world-class Belgian international. Like, you can still show up with 6 to 7 DK and you're fine. So I don't think that there would be too much thinking. If you don't see Maddison, you just plug in Tielemans. Vardy GPP, Barnes GPP, Demarai Gray, used to be good that we like, but he's not even forward eligible anymore. So GPP. Ben Chilwell. So I did mention that he could take like a corner or two or a free kick or two. Issue is it has jacked up his price a ton after he scored that goal a few games ago. I think he's like 62 or 6,300. To me, that's actually more GPP range. I'd rather find the 800 for Dean, or even maybe like go down to like a Tierney. I think that's a better way to go. James Justin, fine for 5K. Just don't think I'm there. Yeah, and that's Leicester. Let's just take a quick look at pricing, make sure that nothing else sticks out. So forward position, again, I think the big decision on the slate will be Abba or Pepe and where you're going to go there. I think most people will lock in Abba, and then just, I think Pepe in cash will be insanely owned, probably over-owned in GPP, unless he scores. Then he was under him. I already mentioned Richarlison and DCL, I think are two good GPP leverage plays. Calvert-Lewin, really, I don't think will be owned much at all at 8,100. Eddie, 7,900. I think it's fine. I'll definitely have him in some GPPs. I just don't know if I would go there for cash. Just does not have much of a shot floor. But again, this is Norwich, so maybe all of a sudden he does show up with like three shots. But good player. Arteta obviously likes him. He's continuing to play him over Lacazette. So yeah, I think it's fine. Saka to me, 7K for kind of a midfield player. It's a little much. Almiron, cash only. Don't play in GPP, but 6,400 works. Mentioned Gale for like a redemption narrative. I can see that. Pookie, look, if you think Arsenal continue to be leaky and they're going to let away a goal, Pookie has a really good chance of being involved. When was the last time he puked and scored? God, it's been a while. Let's see. Yeah, January. So is he due? Is he due for a pukey party? We'll see. Joe Ellington, broke a slate a few times ago, so he's in play. Then I think if you come down any further, will be 5K cash play probably only, or like if you just want to do some cheeky Everton stacks, you do that. Gronveld, I should re-bring it up. If he starts over Stanislas and like you don't even see Brooks and maybe you see like Wilson and Gronveld, decent chance that Gronveld would split some sets, take the in-swingers. Solanke, GPP only. Let me show you this why, like, even though he's a striker on a slight favorite, he's really only suited for GPP. So, like, look at the logs. Like, Brighton, he showed up with an assist to get 9.2, but he just does nothing. Like, poor Bournemouth. That's about forward. Midfield, even if Maddison is in, it might not be the slate for him if he's struggling with fitness. But yeah, I just don't think that he's in. Buendia, I mentioned 8,700. Only if you didn't see Duda, and even then it's pushing it. Lazaro, I don't expect him to start. If he did, that could actually take away from Shelby's set. But at 7,100, it does not mean to go to Lazaro. I did mention Matt Ritchie, 7,700. I'd be really interested in if he started. But again, any of these guys struggling for fitness with 5 subs, just become instant sub risks. These two in GPP are fine. St. Maximin won't be owned, 6,500. I think that is really intriguing. Ceballos will be very popular in cash, likely with half the sets for Arsenal. Duda, I mentioned, if you don't see Buendia 6,100, I have no problem with. Same deal with Shelby. So this little range right here is very nice in terms of like maybe you fill two of your midfielders from here, or at least one. I like all those guys. Albright and FN. I don't think I'd go there anyways, but 5,400 is okay. He crosses enough in open play and has a chance at sets, but just if I see Tielemans, that's where I'm going. We'll be at Tielemans here shortly. The fact that he's priced up so low is just crazy. There's David Brooks. Again, if you don't see Stanislas, but you see Brooks in, 4,800 for him in a must-win game for Bournemouth. That is very nice. If not, we have Stanislas at 4,300. And then kind of, to me, the most popular play in cash and higher stakes on the entire site will be Tielemans, 4,100. Let's just take a look underneath here. Cantwell 4K is fine. If you just want to do like maybe a little bit more contrarian Bournemouth, 4K is very nice for him. Willock is starting. I guess it's okay. I don't think he'll start, though. He just started over the weekend. Hernandez, I guess if he started over Cantwell, it's worth a look. Deep GPP only. Yep, that's about midfield. Dean, like I said, will be the most popular defender in the slate. I talked a little bit about his floor, but, the log speaks for itself. 20.1 with an assist, 7.1, 9, 16.7, 14.6, 16.2, 15.7, 18.8. You get the picture. Lucas Dean is a very good DFS player. For me, Tierney over Chilwell, but both are solid. I just don't know if you have that extra salary to spend up at second defender. Justin fine, Coleman fine. Just again, price is a little bit prohibitive. Rico, like I said, I don't think he'll be in, but if he is, 4,600, potentially a set share at a defender works. Rose, 4,200, I guess. I probably won't be there. Adam Smith is about our cheapest fullback unless we see rotation. All right. I do want to talk about some strategies or some maybe like scripting. So Arsenal is going to be the single most popular stack on the slate. I think, like I mentioned, Pepe and Aubameyang and Ceballos, like that's the three. I think you'll see like the most common stack system. So a couple ways that you can do it. One is moving off of either Pepe or Aubameyang for Eddie. I still don't think, because of the name, that he's going to go like, maybe he's like 25, 30% in the main GPP versus potentially like 40, 50% for Pepe or Aubameyang. So that's a way to immediately create leverage. You could also maybe, fade Ceballos. I don't know. It's hard for me to gauge Ceballos' ownership, but I do think that people are overwhelmingly getting sharper with more content out there, including this. And, with the set share at 6,200, I think it'll be fairly popular. So maybe you don't do a Ceballos, and let's say that, you go Eddie, Aubameyang, and you actually do like Tierney. I think that's a way to immediately diversify your Arsenal stacks. Or, maybe you just go full Arsenal. Maybe you think they win 5-0. You go Eddie, Pepe, because he's midfield and forward eligible. Throw him in a midfield spot. Aubameyang across the front. Throw in Ceballos too. Now you have 4 Arsenal pieces, and there's a lot of value on here. You probably can't get Lucas Dean at that point, but you go that way. And then, obviously you can play Arsenal keeper to say that, they win like 3-0, and you go from there. I don't think a Norwich stack is really much in play. I don't think I don't see a way that Arsenal gets like steamrolled by them. But, if you want to go, any Norwich piece is going to be under owned, but like, if Pukki's starting up front, I'd try to nick a goal that way. Let me just see the other games real quick. I do just want to bring up that it's disgusting to say, but I do think for a low-owned contrarian stack, Bournemouth isn't the worst idea. Fighting for their relegation lives versus a Newcastle team that kind of can accept pressure. So, if you wanted to stack like Stanislas, Wilson, and Solanke, so stack the wide guys, like you could do worse. Just get Junior Stanislas doesn't have to show up an assist, but shows up a shot, 7 crosses. He's at 8 or 9 DK for 4,300 is perfect. Wilson won't go own because of his price, but let's say he gets an assist to Dominic Solanke. That's like a pairing at 1% and you're off and running. And it didn't cost you, it cost you like less than 15K. So, crazier things have happened, especially with the Dubravka possibly being one of the chalkier keepers. On the other side, I think it's very fair to run it like a Newcastle stack. So pairing the strikers with John Joe, or just doing like Joelinton, Almiron, John Joe, throwing St. Maximin in there. I think Newcastle stacks are very in play. Again, these are just deep GPP things. This is not like cash or optimal. This is just if you're wanting to leverage ownership, some of the spots I'd go. I wouldn't worry about throwing in a fullback in those stacks. And then finally, I think either of these stacks are in play too. This is probably the game that I think, I'm going to say this and it's going to backfire. I think it's like the least open of everything. I just wonder if both teams kind of take especially Leicester, maybe takes a more pragmatic counterattacking approach. Everton, you could definitely see just deciding to come out and wanting to go balls out, seeing maybe Leicester a little bit winded, having to play over the weekend, and just, Everton just wanting to make a statement, trying to come into next year strong. So again, I'm a fan of DCL here. I think he'd be one of my favorite GPP plays on the whole slate if you're kind of looking for a low own goal. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this preview. Just want to thank you all again. It's been awesome to see just the continued upswing of views, likes, comments, subscriptions to the FSI site. We have a ton of content coming up with NBA and WNBA. Those are also going to be on the YouTube channel very, very often, either with myself or those coaches from the sports. So really excited about the next month, not only at FSI, but sports in general. So once again, thank you for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe bottom right, and good luck today.